are many live streams that start out ordinary, a gamer playing, a vlogger chatting, or someone just going about their day. But sometimes the camera captures moments no one was ever meant to see. From terrifying accidents to bizarre glitches and shocking incidents unfolding in real time, these clips spread across the internet like wildfire. Unlike a movie or TV show, nothing here was scripted. It all happened live, leaving audiences stunned and unable to look away. Make sure to like this video and subscribe. Think of it as your charm of protection while we go through this unsettling list. 𝗊𝘂𝗯𝗍𝗂 wasn't just another gamer on Twitch. He turned everyday life into chaotic entertainment. Whether walking through Los Angeles with a selfie stick or streaming his airport trips, his unscripted style blurred the line between reality TV and raw internet voyeurism. But in April 2017, while flying to a gaming convention, one small slip changed everything. He accidentally revealed his phone number. A troll used it to call in a fake bomb threat, leading to one of the most disturbing live-streamed moments in history. Let's watch it.
Few names were as large or as controversial as 𝗊𝘂𝗯𝗍𝗂. Born Paul Danino, 𝗊𝘂𝗂𝗍𝗂 was one of the first streamers to transform everyday life into consumable content. Unlike nearly every streamer on Twitch at the time, his streams weren't just about gaming, they were about being. Whether it was walking through Los Angeles with a selfie stick or live streaming a trip to the airport, Danino created a chaotic, unscripted genre of entertainment that blurred the lines between reality TV and internet voyeurism. His content was raw, unsanitized, and frequently leaned towards the edge of what platforms considered acceptable, and yet he was successful. In 2017, Rolling Stone even called him a pioneer live streamer, but pioneers don't always get a smooth ride. In April of that same year, while live streaming his journey to an Austin gaming convention, Danino shared something that, in hindsight, seems almost normal, and that was his gate number. A harmless detail to his audience, but to a troll, it was an opportunity. That troll called authorities with a false bomb threat, impersonating Danino. As a result, the plane he boarded made an emergency landing in Phoenix. In a matter of minutes, the police stormed the cabin, and Danino was let off the flight like a criminal. He had just been swatted on a plane. Danino, shell-shocked and visibly rattled, described the moment on his stream. "These people think I'm a fucking terrorist or something now." The incident made national headlines, and shortly after, Twitch banned him indefinitely, not for the act itself, but for the attention it brought. Danino was furious. According to him, a Twitch representative had assured him that because the swatting didn't happen on stream, he was safe. "Nobody even knew I got swatted until it hit the fucking news," he said. But once the headlines exploded, so did the platform's response. He was permanently banned. The fallout was more than professional, it was personal. Danino spoke about how the ban brought memories of his pre-streaming life, how streaming had pulled him out of nothingness, given him a career, a community, a purpose. To lose it all to something beyond his control felt like betrayal. He eventually migrated to YouTube, where he rebuilt a sizable following of over 700,000 subscribers and counting. But the damage remained. In one video, he admitted he was scared to attend DreamHack, an international gaming event. "If someone's willing to do that on a plane, what's stopping them at a gaming convention?" he asked. And really, what is the limit? Swatting is a crime, but it's also a symptom. A symptom of an internet that's grown faster than the laws meant to govern it.
Shaken, Danino later explained, "These people think I'm a terrorist or something." The incident made national headlines, and Twitch permanently banned him, not for the act itself, but for the attention it brought. For Danino, it wasn't just career damage. It felt like betrayal from the very platform that had given him purpose. But compared to Etika final streams, it was only the beginning of live streaming gone horribly wrong. Etika wasn't just another YouTuber, he was a symbol of pure energy online. His reactions, his laughter, and his iconic 𝘀𝘂𝗯𝗀𝗿𝗏 rally cry turned him into a legend for millions of young fans. But in 2019, that joy began to crack. Strange tweets, cryptic messages about death, and sudden outbursts hinted at something much darker beneath the surface. Time to face it.
Etika belonged to the softest part of gamer culture, a sunny corner of the internet devoted to Pokemon, Mario, and joy. In 2012, he launched his first YouTube channel, borrowing his online name from a cheat code in Sonic the Hedgehog 3. YouTube at the time still felt like a different ballgame entirely. His content was built around reactions. It didn't matter whether it was fan-submitted memes, Nintendo updates, or viral drama. He would yell, gasp, and fall out of his chair. It was the kind of high-energy internet performance designed to make teenage boys laugh, but there was something pure about it. His fans, many of them young boys watching after school or under their bedsheets late at night, saw in him someone who could take the strange, emotional troubles of growing up online and give it a name. He called his fans Joy-Con boys after the detachable Switch controllers, and they gave him more than just views. They built fan pages, made edits, and followed his every move. And unlike many influencers, Etika didn't keep a professional distance. He livestreamed for hours, gaming, reacting, and sometimes just talking. He listened to fans vent about school, family, and depression. At one point, he claimed to be earning over $300,000 a year. But in 2019, he began posting strange tweets such as cryptic symbols and references to death. He uploaded adult content to his channel, violating YouTube's rules. His account was deleted. He followed up with a post on Reddit saying, "And now it's my turn to die. I love you all. Keep fighting for me, okay?" His fans panicked. Then, just as suddenly, he reappeared with an apology. "I'm sorry for making you fear I would take my own life." He returned to streaming, but the tone had shifted. He was still funny and magnetic, but there was a sadness to him. Sometime after, he streamed himself having a mental breakdown, in which cops were called and were begging him to let them inside of his apartment. Eventually, the stream ended, and videos from passerbyers outside showcased him being walked out of his apartment in a stretcher, laughing at the cameras. After a few days of silence, he returned and said he was okay now. He said he spent some time at a mental hospital, and now everything is fine. Some weeks later, on the night of June 20th, a new video went viral on his channel. It was filmed in one take, as he walked alone through Lower Manhattan. "I'm sorry I betrayed your trust," he began. Behind him, the city continued with traffic, sirens. He apologized for refusing help, for spiraling in front of them. Then the video cut off. The next morning, the NYPD posted a missing person alert, and his fans hoped it was another stunt. Unfortunately, it wasn't. His belongings were found by the Manhattan Bridge, and his body, days later, were recovered from the East River. It was revealed by the police that he had taken his own life by drowning. Afterward, fans flooded Reddit and Twitter with messages of grief and disbelief. They debated whether they had missed the signs, whether the line between performance and reality had blurred too far. Some confessed that they too were struggling, and that watching Etika had made them feel less alone. In the months since, over 370,000 fans have signed a petition to have his original YouTube channel restored. Years of memories are gone due to misconduct of a few uploads. We think someone who has done so much for the YouTube platform should be allowed to have his greatest moments archived forever, because if Etika was anything,
Fans hoped it was another stunt, but it wasn't. His belongings were later found near the Manhattan Bridge, and days after, his body was recovered from the East River. The line between performance and reality had shattered, leaving his community in shock and grief. Etika's story is one of the most tragic ever live-streamed. And sadly, Abuse and Death Live shows that he wasn't the only one to face such darkness under the spotlight. Her name was Valentina. His was Stanislav, better known online as 𝗿cie. What began as a live stream for trash content, a trend where viewers pay to see humiliation and violence in real time, ended as one of the most horrifying deaths ever caught on camera. Now see the cursed.
her name was Valentina, and the man holding the camera was Stanislav, better known by his online alias 𝗿cie. He was part of a growing underground trend in Russia known as trash streaming, a brutal genre of live streaming where creators accepted real-time cash donations in exchange for dares which were sometimes humiliating, often violent. The more outrageous the request, the bigger the payout. Viewers sent tips through platforms like donation alerts, and the creator performed what they asked. It was a direct line between money and harm, and in 𝗿ficie's case, that harm turned deadly. According to reports, the livestream that night began like many others on his channel. At some point, after a heated argument off camera, he forced Valentina, his girlfriend, outside onto a freezing balcony wearing only her underwear. Temperatures were around -5°C. She pleaded to come back in, but he ignored her. When he eventually brought her back inside, she was unconscious. Still streaming, he shook her, slapped her face, and attempted to wake her up. "My bunny, what's up with you?" he asked the camera. "Guys, no pulse, she's pale. She is not breathing." The camera stayed on as paramedics arrived. They confirmed she was dead. Valentina had suffered a traumatic brain injury, cerebral hemorrhage, and multiple bruises across her body. Later reports from law enforcement confirmed hypothermia as a contributing cause of death. For viewers, the footage was horrifying. For Russian lawmakers, it was a wake-up call. Though the livestream wasn't hosted on YouTube, clips were quickly uploaded there and spread across Telegram and other forums. Some viewers re-uploaded it with reaction videos, while others tried to cash in on the shock. YouTube eventually removed the content and terminated 𝗵•'s channel, citing the platform's policy against graphic and violent material. A spokesperson for YouTube told Insider, "This kind of content is not acceptable on YouTube. We're shocked to learn of this tragic incident. The creator was not part of our partnership program and was never monetized on our platform, but it was too late." 𝗵• was arrested shortly after the incident. At trial, he admitted to forcing Valentina outside, but claimed he didn't intend for her to die. The 𝗴cie City Court convicted him of involuntary manslaughter and sentenced him to 6 years in a maximum security prison colony, a rare outcome in a country where internet crimes are often ignored. Valentina's death became a symbol of a deeper issue. Trash streaming had been quietly growing in popularity for years. Some involved extreme dares, like eating live insects or staging fake emergencies, but others crossed into real violence. Russian officials responded with promises of new legislation. A draft law was introduced soon after that would criminalize humiliating or violent acts during live streams, with potential prison terms of up to 6 years for violators and platforms that allow them. Even after 𝗵•'s conviction, the trend hasn't disappeared. In fact, some streamers gained more viewers by referencing the case directly, using Valentina's death as part of their thumbnails or promotional stunts.
Viewers watched in horror as he shook her, calling out, "She's not breathing." Paramedics confirmed what everyone feared: Valentina was dead. The trial convicted 𝗵• of involuntary manslaughter and sentenced him to 6 years. Her death became a symbol of how far trash streaming had spiraled out of control. That night exposed the darkest side of live streaming. And the story of Amouranth shows the nightmare didn't stop there. She was the queen of Twitch, the highest-earning woman on OnlyFans, and a millionaire streamer admired worldwide. But behind the flawless persona, her audience saw something they were never meant to witness. In October 2022, Amouranth broke character midstream, and 𝗀𝗂𝗯𝗀𝗀, the real person, revealed a life of coercion, control, and threats that left her viewers in shock. Let's start the horror.
Was the face of modern female streaming. She was Twitch's most watched female streamer, a millionaire through OnlyFans. But behind the aesthetics, her audience saw what wasn't supposed to be seen. During a Twitch stream in October 2022, Amouranth publicly revealed that she was married and had been hiding it under coercion. Her husband, she claimed, controlled her finances, isolated her from friends, and threatened her pets. At one point on stream, she answered a call mid-broadcast, visibly shaking, and played audio of her husband allegedly berating her. "He said he would kill my dogs if I didn't do a 24-hour stream," she whispered. "I'm basically living in a fancy prison." The stream went viral. Her audience, mostly male, watched as she broke character. Amouranth broke down and 𝗀𝗂𝗯𝗀𝗀, the person, came through. Then she went off the grid and returned with a softer tone, but with no husband in sight. Most assumed she had walked away and she'd won. In 2025, while she was streaming on Kick, she had another fight with her husband on stream. Her voice cracked as she described being coerced into signing a post-nuptial agreement. "And do you have any evidence that I've asked that?" he asked. "You just admitted it today, dumbass," she shot back. The stream was messy and emotional, and they fought for nearly a whole 24 hours. Unlike the filtered perfection of her usual content, this was raw and exhausting. It wasn't just emotional abuse. Nick escalated, ranting about failing revenues from her OnlyFans and Kick contracts, blaming her for a dip in profits. Back then, he said, OnlyFans used to make $2 million a month, now we barely crack 1.2. It was ironic. Amouranth, who appears on camera, engages with fans, and physically performs, was being lectured by the man behind the scenes for not monetizing herself hard enough. Then the accusations started. Nick Lee accused Amouranth of cheating with a man linked to the Fresh and Fit podcast, complete with graphic details, which she flatly denied. The argument devolved further as she repeated racially charged slurs, even after she begged him to stop. At one point, she told him, "You're projecting, I'm the sane one, you are in an insane mindset." The stream ended with her visibly shaken, calling the police. The implications of the postnup were especially disturbing. A postnuptial agreement is meant to protect both parties, signed freely and without pressure. But if it's signed under threat and, according to her, at gunpoint, its legality becomes questionable. In some jurisdictions, it could be voided. But the deeper issue isn't legal, it's moral. Amouranth is still very active online. She still streams and posts, often with her husband, but after 2 public collapses, the audience can no longer pretend they don't know what's behind the screen.
The moment went viral. Fans who once watched her for entertainment now saw the raw side of her life: manipulation, financial control, and emotional abuse. Later streams on Kick in 2025 showed even more turmoil, from accusations and slurs to a 24-hour fight that ended with her calling the police. Amouranth's collapse blurred the line between performance and reality. But compared to 𝗀𝗂𝗯𝗀𝗃, her story is only part of a much darker picture of live streaming gone wrong. 𝗂𝗂𝗯𝗀𝗃 was just another small Twitch streamer broadcasting games like Valorant and Minecraft to a modest audience. Nothing out of the ordinary. Until late August 2022, when one of the strangest scandals in Twitch history unfolded live. She became infamous overnight after viewers spotted something shocking in her background, a reflection that suggested a sexual act happening just off camera. Here's the chilling clip.
Broadcasting games like Valorant, Minecraft, and Among Us to a modest audience. It was nothing controversial, nothing out of the ordinary. But in late August 2022, she became the center of one of Twitch's most bizarre and divisive moments after being caught apparently having sex live on stream. At first glance, the clip that got her banned didn't show anything explicit. The camera was focused on 𝗀𝗂𝗯𝗀𝗃, who was fully clothed and seated at her desk, but her sudden shift in facial expressions caught viewers off guard. Something was off. And then, those watching closely noticed a reflection in the window behind her. It showed another person, her boyfriend, clearly engaged in a sexual act, just out of the frame. The camera didn't capture the act directly, but the implications were obvious. She tried to play it off by continuing to answer chat questions and keeping the stream going, but it didn't take long for the moment to make its way to Reddit, specifically the livestream fails community, which thrives off viral missteps like this. The clip exploded. Twitch responded by issuing a 7-day suspension, a punishment that many people felt was surprisingly light. Twitch's community guidelines are very clear. Nudity and sexually explicit content or activities, such as sexual acts or intercourse, and sexual services are prohibited. And yet, despite that, 𝗀𝗂𝗯𝗀𝗃's ban was lifted barely a week later, on September 4th, 2022. She later addressed the incident, calling it a drunken accident. She said it wasn't intended for public view, and Twitch believed her. That's likely what saved her, not just the lack of visible nudity, but the apparent lack of intent. However, after the incident, 𝗀𝗂𝗯𝗀𝗃's online following increased. Her Twitch account grew to over 34,000 followers. On TikTok, she gained more than 130,000 fans. Her Instagram grew rapidly too. And like many women in her position, she pivoted, or perhaps leaned further, into adult content. She started creating for OnlyFans, which many saw as a natural transition given how her name was already being circulated across NSFW corners of the internet. That kind of career path isn't unusual. The controversy around it shows the double standard that creators often point out. Twitch has handed out much harsher punishments for lesser offenses. Some streamers have received indefinite bans for saying the wrong word, or for minor DMCA violations. Meanwhile, 𝗀𝗂𝗯𝗀𝗃 was suspended for just a week after what some argue was public sex on stream. The moment brought questions that Twitch didn't properly answer. Where's the line between accidental and intentional? And does virality soften the blow of policy violations? 𝗀𝗂𝗯𝗀𝗃 broke the Twitch discourse wide open. And in the end, the biggest takeaway wasn't just about what happened on stream. It was about what happened after. A brief scandal, a short ban, and a follower count that multiplied overnight.
Twitch suspended her for 7 days, a punishment many argued was far too light compared to harsher bans given for minor infractions. 𝗂𝗂𝗯𝗀𝗃 later claimed it was a drunken accident never meant for the public. Ironically, the scandal only boosted her career. Her Twitch, TikTok, and Instagram following skyrocketed, and she soon leaned into adult content on OnlyFans. 𝗂𝗂𝗯𝗀𝗃's accident exposed Twitch's double standards and blurred lines between intent and consequence. But the story of deepfake scandal shows just how much darker live streaming controversies can get. Atrioc was never known as a controversial figure. He was the Marketing Monday guy, a hitman speedrunner, and a streamer people generally respected. But on January 30th, 2023, one late-night mistake changed his reputation forever. While live, he accidentally showed a browser tab not of a game, but of a deepfake adult site featuring fellow streamers like 𝗂𝗂𝗯𝗀𝗃𝗯𝗃, and 𝗂𝘂𝗯𝗃𝗃 cinderella. Watch at your risk.
Made one of those mistakes, the kind that destroys a career and drags other people's trauma into the spotlight alongside it. On the surface, Atrioc is not a controversial figure. He is a marketing guy turned streamer, best known for his Marketing Monday series, and an impressive speedrunning history in Hitman. Not the type of creator you'd expect to ignite one of the most heated conversations about internet ethics, consent, and deepfake adult content. But that's exactly what happened. During a late-night stream on January 30th, Atrioc accidentally shared his screen, a mistake that any live streamer can make. But what viewers noticed in one of his open tabs was not a game, a script, or analytics. It was adult content. Specifically, it was a tab to a website that sold deepfake adult content, digitally generated explicit videos using the faces of real people, often without their consent. In this case, the deepfakes featured prominent female streamers like 𝗂𝗂𝗯𝗃𝗯🐄🐂 cinderella, 𝗵cie𝗂𝗃𝗯𝗃, and more. It took only seconds for viewers to clip and share the moment. The damage was immediate. Atrioc streamed a tearful apology. He described his actions as a lapse in judgment, something born from morbid curiosity after seeing an ad on an adult site. He said he clicked it, subscribed to the site, and never meant to cause harm. But his intention didn't matter much. The women affected hadn't consented to being sexualized. They hadn't permitted their likeness to be used in that way, and now their faces and identities were being sold on the internet as adult content because of a click. 𝗵cie𝗂𝗃𝗯𝗃 tweeted, "The situation makes me feel disgusting, vulnerable, nauseous, and violated, and all these feelings are far too familiar to me." 𝗂𝗂𝗯𝗃 kept her response brief but powerful, saying, "Stop sexualizing people without their consent. That's it. That's the tweet." And 𝗂𝗂𝗯𝗃𝗯𝗄 cinderella, who was perhaps hit hardest by the fallout because of her friendship with Atrioc, broke down in tears on stream, calling it one of the most violating experiences of her life. Atrioc, to his credit, didn't disappear. After a brief hiatus, he returned to Twitch on March 14th, claiming he had spent the past month trying to make amends not just with words, but with money and action. He said he'd wired $60,000 to Morrison Rothman, a Los Angeles-based law firm, to be used by women on Twitch seeking legal support for takedowns and reputation management. Ryan Morrison, the firm's founding father, confirmed it directly. Atrioc did send a $60K retainer to be used exclusively for women affected by deepfakes and similar issues. It was a concrete gesture, one that, while not undoing what happened, attempted to push back against it in a meaningful way. But even with the donation, even with the apologies, the question still remained. Why were you looking at it in the first place? There is no version of this story where Atrioc is the primary victim. That role belongs to the women whose bodies were faked, whose identities were sold, whose trauma was stirred not by a stranger in the shadows, but by someone they knew in real life, someone they trusted.
Atrioc broke down in tears, calling it morbid curiosity, saying he never meant harm, but his apology couldn't erase the pain. 𝗵cie𝗂𝗃𝗯𝗃 described feeling disgusting, vulnerable, nauseous, and violated. 𝗂𝗂𝗯𝗃𝗯𝗃 simply said, "Stop sexualizing people without their consent." And 𝗂𝗂𝗯𝗃𝗯𝗃 cinderella, his close friend, called it one of the most violating experiences of her life. It was a moment that shook Twitch and reignited debates about consent in the digital age. But the story of TwitchCon injury shows the dangers of live streaming go even further. TwitchCon 2022 in San Diego was supposed to be a celebration, the biggest gathering of streamers, gamers, and fans under one roof. But what looked like a weekend of fun quickly turned into disaster. Inside a sponsor booth, a foam pit designed as a playful jousting game hid a deadly flaw. Beneath the cubes wasn't padding, but solid concrete. And one jump into that pit changed everything. Take a look.
Fan-first gathering of streamers, gamers, and internet personalities under one roof. But in October 2022, the annual event took a turn from celebration to controversy. It started off as a weekend of fun in San Diego, but ended with a spinal surgery and media scrutiny, all because of a foam pit. The pit was designed as a combat game, Two players stood on raised platforms suspended over a pit of foam cubes. They'd battle each other with padded jousting sticks, and someone would inevitably fall in. From a distance, it looked safe and playful. What no one expected or was warned about was that beneath those lightweight foam cubes was bare concrete. There was no padding or shock absorption, just a thin illusion of safety covering a hard surface. On October 10th, 2022, Twitch streamer Adriana 𝗀𝗂𝗯𝗀𝗃 jumped into the pit after winning her match. A simple celebratory leap that shattered her spine. She landed in an awkward position with full force against the concrete floor beneath the cubes and broke her back in 2 places. "Well, I broke my back in 2 places and am getting a surgery to put a rod in for support today," she posted on Twitter. "When it rains, it pours, and I am definitely feeling the rain right now." Surgery followed, possibly involving rods and spinal implants, and 𝗀𝗂𝗯𝗃 began a long and public recovery, documenting her physical limitations, frequent collapses, and the uphill battle to walk again. Behind the viral moment was a medical crisis, and behind the crisis was a broader failure in event design and accountability. She wasn't the only victim. Streamer 𝗀𝗂𝗯𝗀𝗃 also fell into the pit during a similar match. Her injury wasn't as devastating, but it was serious enough to require medical intervention. She posted photos from a wheelchair, and later explained that her kneecap had to be manually reset. While not permanent, the injury required ongoing physical therapy, and was scheduled for an MRI to determine if further surgery would be necessary. She too had jumped into the pit after a victory. She too was unaware of what was beneath the foam. In total, multiple injuries were reported, all stemming from this same exhibit. By the time the videos of these injuries began circulating online, TwitchCon's reputation was shattered. According to witnesses, the exhibit remained open even after 𝗀𝗂𝗯𝗃𝗃's fail. Staff members allegedly continued inviting guests to try the game, provided they signed waivers. Social media, news outlets, and industry insiders began calling it what it was: a preventable injury in a reckless setup. There's an expectation that events of this scale, especially those operated under the Twitch brand, will prioritize the safety of their creators. It's worth noting that Twitch didn't operate the foam pit directly. It was part of a partner booth run by Lenovo and Intel, but the line between sponsor and host doesn't matter much when injuries are this severe, and the event's branding is on the walls. Whether Twitch is legally responsible or not, questions remained about who built the exhibit, who approved the safety protocols, and why there was no padding under the foam. 𝗀𝗂𝗯𝗃's life changed permanently in a matter of seconds. The industry, for the most part, moved on.
Her injury required spinal surgery and rods for support, sparking headlines across social media. She wasn't alone. Other streamers, including 𝗀𝗂𝗯𝗃𝗯𝗃, were also hurt. Fans and critics blasted the event for reckless design, pointing out how easily the injuries could have been prevented. We've just seen how live streaming, something meant to connect and entertain, can spiral into chaos, tragedy, and moments that never should have been broadcast. From swattings to scandals to real-life injuries, these streams prove that not everything caught on camera is meant for the spotlight. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Consider it your charm of protection before we dive into the next disturbing story.